play has been devalued in Tower Hamlets, which is where I'm from. So about 6 years ago, we started a play association to help the people who were providing play and to help schools and help raise the profile of play in the borough. So now we have got a new adventure playground, and we can talk about that sometime. We've got a play strategy in our borough. We've got government funding, and we've got lottery funding, and we've got lots of funding from different sources. So we get a group of play workers, and we go out with a big trolley filled with stuff. We call it loose parts. It's not quite, yeah, I know, it's a bit silly, but it's not quite toys. It's stuff, things that children can use for anything. So loose parts. And the first time we go out to a new estate where children haven't been playing, we have to do a lot of work. As play workers, we have to do a lot. We have to take a lot of stuff. And eventually, bit by bit, the children get it. And we can back off and get on with it. We take more and more steps back, and what am I going to do? And we back off and take less and less stuff. And so that we are left with cardboard boxes. That's very near the end of our intervention. And the children are playing quite happily, forgetting about the play workers. I went to a last session that one of our playwork teams was doing, and all they'd taken was balls of wool. And the children were flying strands of wool like kites in the air. They didn't need us anymore. They could play for themselves now.
It's a great pleasure to be back here at this school. I've visited often during my years as a Waldorf teacher. I had wonderful experiences here. And I mentioned I was a Waldorf early childhood educator for over 30 years. And gradually, not so much in Waldorf schools, but in the world around me, I saw children's health and well-being suffering. I saw play disappearing. I saw new illnesses coming into children's lives, stress and nervousness coming into their lives in ways that were really unknown in the early 70s. I think back now, that when I started teaching, I didn't know any children with allergies. In the early 70s, we got a school doctor in the late 70s from Switzerland. We asked him to help us about a child with a dairy allergy, and he said, "What's that?" And this whole training in Switzerland, we've never heard of a dairy allergy. And that's where we came from not so very long ago. And what I saw happening was new illnesses coming to our children here in the United States, in North America, and then like an epidemic going to other countries. So when we first were becoming really aware of hyperactive disorder here, I would talk about it over in Europe, and people thought I was nuts. And 5 or 10 years later, they were all really concerned. It was usually a time lag. And my work also took me to Africa and Asia, South America, other places, and there was an additional time lag. And then people there would be talking about it. So the conditions of childhood have changed rapidly in the 30 years that I've worked with children. And the one that we're focusing on primarily, but not exclusively by any means, is this disappearance of play and how to bring it back. And I think for me, the kind of shock, the wake-up call that said, do it now, happened about 4 years ago when we worked with a professor in Atlanta on a little pilot study where experienced kindergarten teachers in public schools were asked about play, and they described, each of them described how it had disappeared from their curriculum over 10 years. That was new, but they documented it for us. But what really shocked me was that a number of them volunteered something we didn't ask for. And they said, if we give the children time to play, they don't know what to do. They have no ideas of their own. And I just, as a former kindergarten teacher, I was horrified. 5-year-olds usually just abound with ideas of their own. There are fountains of ideas and creativity. And it was at that point that we in the Alliance decided, okay, it's time to really focus on this. Too much is being lost. It's really precious to what it means to be a human being and be able to address the issues of our time. In addition to which, over the years, I saw so many children address their personal issues in life, their sorrows and losses, and fears through play and work it out. And I thought, if the children don't have play to address those issues, how are they going to address the things that trouble them, as well as the things that fill them with joy? So we've been working on play now for several years. We've been astonished at the positive response to it. We were initially told, whatever you do, don't use the word play. It's become a 4-letter word. And we thought about that, but we decided we were going to try to redeem the word play. And so we have sort of 3 things. I'll just mention them briefly. The one is general public education about play. We talk everywhere to everyone that we can about the importance of play, make them aware of the research, make them aware of experience, make them aware of this film, find ways to let the media know about play, let parents, educators, anybody know about play. I think it's just really important. The second is to introduce this profession of play work that Penny represents so well in the U.S. because it's not known in this country. And there's thousands of play workers in the world. And we feel, many of us grew up at a time when it was common to hear our parents say on a Saturday, just go outside and play and don't come home till supper. Remember that? Yes. Today's children will never hear that. It's too much fear. Well, I shouldn't say never. It's unlikely that many of them will hear that. So we thought as an interim step, we really need play workers here. That parents could relax, that there's good people in the parks, there's good people at recess, there's good people around that understand children and play and can help. And it's been catching on. We have 2 universities now in New York that are going to start courses in play work that hope to develop it into a real training in play work. And we hope that will expand across the country. And the third thing, as Ed mentioned, is forming coalitions for play so that people from parks departments, from the health community, children's museums, schools, all kinds of places that care about children can work together to promote play in our communities. And I can only echo what Liz and Ed have said, and Penny too. It would be great if here in Detroit there was a play coalition. So I thank you, and I look forward to your comments.